There is a saying in Colombia. In Spanish, it is no des papaya or no dar papaya. And if you translate it into English, it simply means don't give papaya. But it actually means, which is a universal message of don't be a low hanging fruit. Do not make yourself a target for people who intend to do harm to someone else. And this is a really important message for those of you who are on the move abroad journey. Not only in the sense of like, don't be flashy with money or expensive jewelry or expensive things. Don't count bills in a unsafe neighborhood or openly, but also in terms of how you advertise yourself when you're moving abroad. I see so many videos about I did it. I left my whole family abroad in the US or in Canada or in Europe to this country, and I did it all by myself. And I bought my house or I rented, and I figured out all of this by myself. Now, the courage that it takes to move abroad, to go through the visa process, to sell or give away your belongings, to cut ties with family and friends, to leave your life behind. That takes an immense amount of courage. And guess what? That courage is for you. That is for your self esteem. That's not necessarily for you to advertise that you left everything behind and you're in this new country by yourself because you're making yourself a target, especially for women. Women have to assume wherever you go, everyone is a predator until proven otherwise. That is how I move through the world, especially in a foreign country. And so I would like for you to be more prudent regarding how you introduce yourself as you embark on this move abroad journey, especially if you're a woman. Do not tell strangers you're here by yourself, that you divorced your husband, your children back in the US, you don't speak to your father, you don't speak to your family, you don't speak to anybody, and you're here by yourself. Because guess what? If something happened to you, it would be weeks before anyone knew because you're in this country by yourself alone. So, what's the solution? You lie. You lie because here's two reasons. Being alone in these countries where community and family are important, you stand out as if what's wrong with her that she has nobody? Because family and relationships are currency in these countries, which is one of the reasons why you're probably interested in moving abroad, because you want to leave behind the American ideology of the individual is more important than the group. So you have to understand that in these countries, family is a currency. Relationships are a currency. So you want to show that you share in that currency and you have relationships. So you lie. You say, yes, I speak to my father every day. As a matter of fact, my brother is coming to visit me in the next few days. Such and such knows I'm here. I have this friend. You want to create a story around you already having roots and people who love you and care about you in this new country. You do not want to advertise that you're here alone, especially for American women, where sometimes you may come up against a challenge where people are like, where's your husband? Where are your children? And a lot of American women are sensitive, especially if they're unmarried and they don't have children. And they think like, "Oh, well, like what? I only have value because I only have value as a woman, being a mother or being a wife. No, 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 no. Again, that goes through the same theme of who does this person belong to? Who is part of your lineage? That is how many cultures, if we think about thousands of years ago when we lived in tribes, the tribes were small, 100 people. So everyone knew who people's families were. They knew their parents, they knew their cousins. But the world is more global now and people move around more frequently because of modernized technology or because of jobs. And so, but that's still that evolutionary need to know who someone belongs to is still there. So when people ask you, where's your husband? It's not a judgment of you. It's them trying to figure out who does this person belong to. So reduce the need to be like hypersensitive about people asking about your family and your whereabouts and see it as an evolutionary basic of wanting to know who's connected to you. It's a human curiosity. So yeah, you're going to create a story about yourself. Another thing that you're going to do is connect, make relationships there as soon as possible. Three things you could do. Join a language class if you're moving to a country where English is not the predominant language. Or even if English is a secondary language, join a language class so you can have a frequency where people start to see you and recognize you. And that also helps build your community. Develop daily habits where you go to the same place every single day so people also start to recognize you and develop familiarity with you. That could be going to a coffee shop or a local gym, going to a coffee shop, a local gym, or even going out to dinner or lunch a couple of times a week so they become familiar with you. Because again, these societies still have a community, a communal element that's not necessarily existent in the US, where you don't have that frequency of interaction. So you want to establish that and maintain that so people know that you belong to somebody, that you have certain habits. And that also, if there's bad actors in the background that are watching you, they say, oh, this person has community here. If someone is thinking to do some harm to you, I mean, God forbid, kidnap you, they say, no, 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 this person, this woman has connection. She goes to this coffee shop. This coffee shop, the owners will know she's missing because they haven't heard from her in a few days. And you also, once you start to establish relationships, you also want to inform your family and friends back in your home country, hey, I connected with this person. Here's their WhatsApp number in case something happens to me. So you want to bridge the connections from your former self with your new self. In the move abroad, in the move abroad journey, there's a tendency to burn down your previous life. No, you're bridging. It's not only sensible to bridge, but it's prudent and it's practical and it's part of your safety. This is especially like this message is for women. When I travel, I frequently travel with my mother. And so there's an element of, how do I say this? I travel with my mother, but there is an element of she belongs to someone. And so it grounds me in the country a lot faster. I hope you understand what I mean. But I feel like they connect with me because they know that family, this is all subconscious. They know that family is a currency that's important to me because I'm here across the world with my mother. So that's also a hack. If you can find someone to travel with, that also helps. So let me know if you have any questions. I do have a Move Abroad course. It's titled Legally Abroad. For those of you, if it's your first time here, I'm an attorney and I help people move abroad and navigate the unknown of moving to another country, whether that involves the visa process, establishing healthcare, how to purchase international health insurance, especially if you have a pre-existing conditions and things that you want to be aware of. So we walk you through that. We also deal with your tax compliance issues in the United States because, like I said, you're not burning down your previous life. You're building a bridge to connect that connects you to and that supports you on your new journey. We also walk through if you're in that area, if you're between 30 and 60, and perhaps you're not at a point where you can retire, what it would be like to find employment abroad, or even establishing your business abroad to fund your life abroad. That's also something that we touch upon in the course. So if that's something you're interested in, the link will be in the description box. What's so valuable about the course is that I walk through all of the things that I dealt with and I struggled with moving abroad. My move abroad journey was not quick like some people. My move abroad journey started in 2016 when I had the inception where I had the idea of like, I just remember standing in the subway station at 42nd Street, and it was just filthy. The subway was filthy, and historically, New York City subways are filthy. However, it was uncharacteristically more filthy than it's ever been in the past. And Mayor de Blasio was the mayor at the time. And I remember standing in the subway system, and I'm like, this place is disgusting. I don't belong here. I remember exactly what I was wearing that day because that's how poignant the idea was. And so from that, I started scouting different countries. I went to Costa Rica, I went to Colombia, I went to Italy, I went to the Netherlands. I was scouting. Unbeknownst to me, I was scouting where I wanted to land. And so eventually that led me to purchasing a home in Italy and really establishing roots. And so I walk you through all of the ins and outs that I had to deal with, even in terms of getting a visa as an attorney, getting my professional license as an attorney recognized in Italy, establishing residency in not only Italy, but also in Colombia as a plan B. I've walked you through the tax compliance issues of purchasing a property in the US and what I had to do in terms of purchasing a property in Italy. and what I had to report to the IRS in the United States. So as an attorney, I have a glimpse of going through the steps to do actual forensics. And so that is how I laid out this course. So no stone is unturned. And we get to flesh through all of the things that you have to be concerned about with moving abroad. Because moving abroad, of course, it's fun, but there's also a lot of responsibilities and things that you have to endure. And yes, it's hard, but you could do hard things. And that's why I built this course to prepare you to do hard things. Also, with that, I also want to mention there's certain countries that you want to have on your radar and certain countries that you want to have as tertiary. And that has a lot to do with health insurance and access to health insurance, especially if you have a pre existing condition. So, this course will give you clarity regarding the move abroad journey. Everything is all in one place, so you don't have to duct tape things together to make sense and to make and develop a plan. And I'm even coming out with a journal to guide you. I'm in the beginning stages of processing that, but also it is like your personalized journey so that your personalized documentation so that you can document this magical journey, the good, the bad, and the ugly, so that you can reflect in the future and perhaps share it with your children, your grandchildren. I also think that's important to document the move abroad journey because this is unprecedented for many of us. For many years, US has been the golden ticket for immigrants to move for a better life. But now we've seen that change and Americans are moving abroad for a better life. So I think it's important to document that. So if you have any questions regarding moving abroad and you want to hear it from an attorney, and the link to Legally Abroad is in the description box. So yes, I will close with you're not alone, even if you are. No des papaya.